Yes, Tales from the Jails, John G. Sutton. I'm going to sing you a song today to start today's story off, which is a strange song from Ireland about somebody who's locked in prison and about to be transported to Australia for stealing property that belonged to the Lord. By the lonely prison walls, I heard a young girl calling, Michael, they have taken you away, for you stole true valiant corn, so the young could see the morn. So lonely round the fields of Athenry, the fields of Athenry. And the reason I'm singing you that little ditty today, to start this off, is because the name of the inmate in that song is Michael. And there's a strange little story on the BBC today, somewhere in there, you have a look. It's about the most common names of people who are locked up in prison. And they said that today's the population in Her Majesty's prisons in the United Kingdom is approximately 82,000. And of those 82,000, approximately 181 have the name of Michael, which is apparently the most common name for prisoners. Yeah, seriously. And for females, it's Emma, believe it or not. So to all the Michaels out there, watch it, because prison's just around the corner, according to what the BBC was saying today. So that's why I sang that little song. It's a famous old Irish song, The Fields of Athenry. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to talk now about some very strange jailers that I knew. There was one, listen, I'll give you his name because I don't think he's around anymore. It can't possibly be the way he behaved. His name was McBride. Yeah, and he was believe this or not, he was a regimental sergeant major, but he wasn't in the regular army. He was in the boys' army, the youth army. So he worked with little boys. Yeah, he was a great big hefty Scotch guy, you know. And he was the regimental sergeant major. Anyway, one day there were about 5 of staff, and we had to take a group of about 8 inmates on production from the Scrubs to a prison at Winchester. They were being transferred to Winchester. So we arrived at Winchester probably about 11:30, and the staff said, right, well, we're feeding everybody now, we're locking the jail down, we'll process these when we come back from lunch, so off you go, gentlemen, hand the prisoners over, we'll lock them up in a holding cells, and you come back here at 1:30 and we'll process this, and then off you go back to the Scrubs. Great. They said, if you just go out the gate and turn right, there's a pub on the left-hand side. That'll do me. Not that I was drinking during the day, but at least we could have a glass of something or other, orange or whatever it was, and a pie or a sandwich or whatever they were selling. So I went into this pub and sat down, 5 of us, you know, McBride being one of them. And he decided he was going to drink beer. Great, so long way back, you know, if you're carrying a load of beer, you know, I think I had a Britvic, you know, one of them little bottles of orange. That'll do me. Yeah, I don't want to be carting all that beer back in. Anyway, he'd had about 3 pints, and there was a man came in, and he stood at the bar, and McBride said, announced to the table, he said, see that man at the bar there? He said, we looked across, yeah. I said, yeah. He said, I recognise that tie. He said, "You recognise that tie?" I said, "So what?" He said, "It's a regimental tie." He said, "You know that I'm the regimental sergeant major of the boys' brigade or whatever it was." I said, "Oh yeah." So we couldn't stop him. McBride, he was about 6'2", big strapping fella, you know, looked a typical sergeant major, you know, big chest, threw his chest out, put his hat on his head, marched across the room, left, right, and up to this guy at the bar, stamped to attention, threw a salute up like that. "Regimental Sergeant Major McBride, sir, I recognise that tie." And the guy at the bar says to him, "Why don't you go fuck off?" all the way back to Winchester Prison, we were saying to him, "I recognise that tie. I recognise that tie." Yeah. So you could see he was getting really angry at this, you know. But I mean, he was asking for it, wasn't he? Yeah? Snapped up and saluted in this. Why are you going? It was funny, I tell you. That was McBride. There's another strange character at the Scrubs. I mean, there were a number of strange characters at the Scrubs, but one of them had been a professional wrestler, and he was a senior officer. I remember most things, but his name escapes me. Anyway, it's better without the names. And he was forever. He worked in the unit on C1 landing. He was like the officer in charge of C1 landing, but he worked in an office where you could go up to the office, you know, if you came in, you know. And he used to say to inmates, if they came up morning or whenever it was, "Stay where you are." He'd run round there, and before you knew it, they were up in the. He was a ex-professional wrestler, this guy. Pick him up, run down the landing, and whiz him into a cell before you knew where they were. No chance to argue. I tell you what. He obviously wasn't a heavyweight, you know, he was more like a middleweight, you know. Somewhat like Mick McManus, you know. And what was the other guy with the Jackie Pallo? He looked a bit like Jackie Pallo, actually, but he was fast and he could get their arms up the backs and they were up and they were off into the cells. Strange days, but that was Wormwood Scrubs. McBride, I recognise that tie. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little song. And a strange statistic, that, isn't it? You're more likely to be imprisoned if your name's Michael than any other name. That's today's Tales from the Jails. Thank you very much. Hey, subscribe, eh? I believe it's good. Thank you. I recognise that tie.